marketing work, that's all ready to go forward. If you want to be a part of that, you're welcome.
For another $100,000.
That's already approved.
Exactly, but that's my point. For another 100,000 that's in the pipeline, ready to go out now for work that hasn't even been done yet. That's ridiculous. So that would make it $173,000 that we spend in this firm? That doesn't make any sense at all.
The budget to North Star was $28,000 for the second year of consulting for marketing implementation. 28, not 100. And then the $100,000 was other expenses to implement it. So that would be the cost of producing a video or the physical items of purchase.
So it's still 173 though, right?
But it's not to North Star, it's the implementation.
So can just a question, just to insert into this. So right now, all work done by North Star to carry on the project is suspended or at the moment until we get this issue resolved? No. So the issue being, what is going to be the tagline? What is going to be the logo and the various elements?
The issue is to bring the public's input into the North Star process.
So my only question is, so while we're in that pause phase of getting further input and visiting the logo, is further work that North Star that they're doing, is that on pause until we get across that line?
Go ahead.
Yes, if I can. So,
because I wasn't a part of that conversation.
No, that's okay.
so-
Looking back, there was an estimate, and the intent for North Star was to use them as needed, and ultimately either from a consulting perspective or to help with the. They've made a lot of these products. They have connections to the videos. They can be more efficient. We felt like in some of these, so we would use them as needed. For this, the budget was up to $50,000. But again, it was to use as needed. To Councilmember Riggs' point, a lot of other things were the content development, brand rollout, signage, expo events, marketing, media. Those were the things. But and as I mentioned at the last council meeting, it's really you can do what you want with this. And they recommended a slower, meticulous rollout. But ultimately, this committee would then have some say in how do we want to roll this out, what products do we want to do, what avenues we want to try to approach. But ultimately, there's no guaranteed expenditures at this point in time. It's
So I guess what I'd just be inviting Councilman Weber to do is to give it a chance, participate in that process. Let's tackle, get the bull by the horns. Let's tackle this issue of the tagline and the logo, and let's see what we can bring out of that, and then you can further bring on this conversation as far as what's done with the spending, over the next months. But at least let's just get a hold of this thing. Let's twist it around. Let's get the public input, and then see where it goes from there until we make kind of our final, determination. I just give it a little bit of time. Again, I think we've digested a lot of input from the public. That's a lot of value, and again, it goes back to my earlier back in. A year ago, I thought we should have been inviting the public and having our partners do this in the beginning. I really did. That's where I was at going back when we've already litigated all of that. But that being said, we're kind of like backing up a little bit. But let's capture that energy. Let's take advantage of the tide here. And then let's see if we can get something across the finish line. Everybody says, yeah. And then if North Star is the company that can then take that new, design elements and propel it forward, or if you want to do something else, then that's a hash out that we can have.
Right.
But in the moment, if we can just go ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think you'd be great for it, Mr. Weber.
Yeah.
If you are vehemently against being on, then I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. But I think that you'd be.
Do it.
I'll do it. But I think you'd be great.
First.
Yeah, I think you'd be great on it. I'm not saying the situation is paused. Actually, it's moving forward.
Yes, it
Not
is.
a rollout.
Yeah.
The situation of working on it is continuing to move forward. And I don't necessarily put all of the blame. I'm not putting the blame on
North Star.
nor necessarily, but they were, just like it was spoken, they were given direction. So they moved on, as Councilman Riggs said, they moved on the direction that was given to them.
That's good.
So they've done a bunch of other cities, and the product that they gave to those cities is the reason why this council said yes for them to move forward. So they have produced a good product in the past. A person like yourself who has a high quality standard and will not take anything less would be the perfect person to be on this council to hold their feet to the fire. To make sure that
Come on, Sean.
to make sure
Peer pressure.
For the children.
listen to make children to make sure that
All right, for the
to
children.
make
Okay,
sure
he's gonna do it for the children.
to make sure that the community citizens, those that are in our community that have experience and have that, the input, that input is not only given, but is received.
Yes.
Because there was input given, like by myself, but it was not received.
Right.
So if now we can have a process where they're held to feet to the fire, and now that they know that, Mr. Weber's on the council, that, on the committee, that, that they're held to a standard that's not against the people that were on the committee before, but a different perspective that is brought in that, that has currently the ear of the community.
He said yes.
Great.
He said yes.
I give.
All right.
Okay.
We have enough direction to staff on this?
I believe so. I'm missing to confirm it, though, okay?
Good idea.
We're adding Councilmember Weber to the committee. We're going to continue to work and partner with the contractor for the next
Right.
60 days.
Yep.
After 60 days, we're going to continue to get input from
Right.
community members who want to partake in it, and after 60 days, come back to the council with an update.
And
And
and as you said, only work authorized by the committee who moves forward in the process. So they're not, the contract is as needed. It's not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And at this point, I imagine the only
Right.
costs we're going to have are participating
A
in
meeting-
meetings
meeting
with
discussion,
the contractor at
And
this point.
Okay.
may I request, my internet's not working right now, but if the Facebook thing is still up there, that thing be
Take it
taken
off,
off.
yeah.
Yep, we'll put seal back.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Seal will be back.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for your input. It takes us all minds put together to get one
Yeah.
decision. That works well.
Safety in numbers.
All right, next item, number 9, response to the 2022-2023 final Butte County Grand Jury Report. Who has this? Mr. Ritchie.
I follow the branding thing.
Very well.
So what you have before you is a staff report and a draft response to the grand jury, the most recent grand jury questions that came before you. And I'm still scrolling to it because there was a lot of information here in the last item. And while I do that, for those that want the full item, download the full packet before every meeting, like Mayor Pittman had mentioned. And I'm getting there. What page?
I can kick it off while you're looking for it.
Yeah, what page is it at, Brian? I'm at 426.
Yeah, but the staff report was posted, the actual, the draft letter came out on a separate letter from
Oh, it did,
Mr.
okay.
Huber.
And then I will take a look at the draft letter from Scott. Give me just a second.
Well, some background here, on June 29th, the grand jury issued the final report, the investigation they conducted. We talked about this here internally a couple meetings ago, and direction was given to work with the executive committee on a response. Both myself and Mr. Hubert, our city attorney, met with that executive committee last week, I believe it was, or maybe the week before that, to go over the draft response, and that draft response is being presented today for further direction or approval.
Does any councilman have any questions about this report that you received? No? Seeing none? Does the public have any questions about the report? Do we have any comment cards? No? Okay. Well, then, I guess I need to entertain a motion to accept the report
You
as
can, unless there are
presented?
other questions
I-
about, what a grand jury response is or the generalities of this, and of course, you can move forward if you want to.
I move that we approve the City of Oroville's response to the 2022 to 2023 final Butte County Grand Jury Report.
And I'll second that.
Motion seconded. Can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Riggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber? Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
And then I have it noted, Mr.
He's
Thompson.
just walking in.
Do you approve the grand jury response?
We're just voting on the issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. there you go.
Perfect, motion carries.
Thank you. Number 10, capital asset requests.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor Pittman and council members. You have before you a list of the capital asset requests for the fiscal year 23-24. There is, during the budget cycle, we have departments request equipment, which for many years we didn't have any money, so there was nothing addressed. And now we have a lot of items that we're trying to catch up on. Of this list, you've already seen maybe half of them already. They've been to council, but I wanted to give you a list in its entirety of all the things that we will be purchasing this year, pending your approval. I did want to mention the 3 dump trucks. The price changed, and it increased from your last approval. It increased $1,200 each. So that's a net change of $37.45 more than you've already approved. But I wanted to give you the entire list. So some of these you've already seen, and there is a correction on the flock system for the police department. You approved that to come through the district tax fund, not the capital asset replacement fund, so I've moved that over. The intent for this list is to bring it to you on a regular basis, maybe quarterly, so that you can see what has actually been purchased and what we're still waiting on, because several of these things are from last year, and they're just such a supply challenge right now that we're not sure when we're going to get some of these things, or even if we're going to. But we want to just update you quarterly and bring you the list and say, hey, this came in and we've paid for this, and hopefully that you'll be okay with that, because in the prior year we came to you with every single item. And so the goal is to maybe do this all at once and then just update you as needed.
Okay. Any questions from council?
I have
Yeah,
more.
Councilor Weber.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, I reviewed the list. Brian gave it to me because I couldn't tap on the little number next to the 10 and see the list on my computer for some reason. But Brian gave me the list, and I reviewed it, and I just wanted to say that I think the list is good. And there's 2 purchases on there in particular that I'm really pleased about, which is for Public Works, and they're the hot trailer for asphalt. That, I think, is going to be huge and very important, because one of the problems we have during the winter, of course, is all these reoccurring potholes that happen due to excessive moisture in the holes, and then we're using a cold patch compound, and then what ends up happening is they just blow apart. So this will be a great opportunity for us to use this trailer, which will hold, how long will it keep the pavement hot?
We can keep it hot for 24 hours. There's 2 different burner styles on it. It can run off of propane or natural gas and an
Okay.
electric element. So we can heat it overnight. It stays hot in the box. In
Yep.
the morning, we go out and deploy. We have hot asphalt.
So it gives you just a greater window of opportunity to serve and then keep your product really hot during the winter. So on days that it's not raining, and you guys could go out and, prep a hole and then patch it and do a much better patch. Basically, it's an enclosed trailer that's going to keep the asphalt hot. And the other thing is the crack sealing machine. And the crack sealing machine is, I think I mentioned it 6-7 months ago now, right at the beginning of council this year, that when I heard and understood that we had hired an outside firm, or the somebody else, not this council, but the previous council, I believe, or somebody else, had hired a firm to go out and crack seal the airport. And I don't know but I heard it was like $300,000 or something. The first thought that popped in my head was, well, why not buy a crack sealer? you know, and then have Public Works do the crack sealing, you know, like, so I'm super happy to see that on there. And I think those are going to be incredibly important tools for your department to better service the needs of our citizens and these roads that are in such dire need. And just as a note too, I know you are initiating a really great paving plan too. So I think that I'm looking forward to next year because we're going to have all this really cool equipment and the skid steer attachments and all that stuff. Anyway, what that equates to, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because for at the end user, our citizens and us too, we live here, this is going to equate to faster ability to strike on these issues that pop up. So it's an excellent, I totally support this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to add on with the crack sealer machine. It could add life and years to our asphalt where we're stopping the degradation, we're stopping the water infiltration, getting into the base of the roadway, which makes it break even faster. With keeping the water out, it helps the roadway structure. So it'll be a great piece, and it's a key part for preventative maintenance as far as roads go as well.
So since you brought that out,
Yes, ma'am.
we're no longer in a drought. But with the torrent of rains that we experienced last year, and many cities experienced major potholes, sinkholes in some instances. And so is this the type of equipment and advanced type of patching that's going to curtail and mitigate that type of issue coming up again?
Potentially, it can help, and it preserves our streets. As far as sinkholes, that can be from different road-based failures. There could also be a failed pipe underneath those. The hot patch trailer in combination with crack seal is great. Not only we can use the hot patch trailer in the wintertime, it's also important for us to have this during the paving season as well. For the same reason, where we're putting hot mix in the back of a dump truck, we're getting it from out of town. By the time we get here, it starts cooling, it starts setting up, and we don't have as good of a product going on the road as it would be inside of a hot box. I hope that answers your
makes
question.
Sense.
I'm not trying to dodge it, I'm just trying to
No,
give some pretty good
And the
specifics.
proof will be in the next torrent.
Yes, the street department is really excited about that. It's going to give us the tools where we could actually do better paving programs.
Expeditiously.
And preventative maintenance as far as crack seal, so.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I may add, I also am very excited because from what I understand, the paver that we bought some months ago is going to be delivered fairly soon. And so along with all the stuff, we're going to have a really great arsenal of tools at our disposal for the public works to tackle a lot of these like low-level stuff that we could take care of really quickly. So I'm super, the paver's going to be here soon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I can give you guys a quick rundown of some of the equipment that's been ordered and tentative delivery dates. The paving machine, that's been moving around a little bit, but it sounds like it's supposed to be delivered in October of this month, okay? Our 10-yard dump that's currently being built, city hasn't had one in 18 years. That's going to be a huge asset to our team. The delivery date estimate is January of 2024. 5-yard dump that's going to be replacing an older truck. We're expecting delivery on that one, which is currently being built in December of this year. So there's some real pieces that are coming together for us very quickly. And with the trailer replacement that we're asking for the skid steer, so you guys have a little bit better of an understanding. The current trailer we have is about 50 years old. It's small and it's very heavy steel, so you can put a lighter load on it. The one that we're looking at, we can put our brand new roller and our paver on it. It's lighter, it's new with good brakes, and we can tow 2 pieces of equipment instead of 1 to our job site, which is going to give us even a little bit more flexibility and some more efficiencies.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
The flock, it's good brakes. I'm glad that we have.
Well, they're just modern. It's not there's anything wrong with the brakes on our trailer now. It's a 50-year-old piece of
What were you
equipment.
saying about the other one? It's like,
Didn't mean it that way, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, the flock system, where are we at on that? The license plate reader, the gunshot hearer thing? Where are we at on the deployment of that?
I will follow up with the chief, but I know they are installed, and they were going through, I think it was 2 weeks ago I asked them about it, and they were going through training on how to best utilize it. So it's,
There he is.
The block system, just, it's on the list of capital expenditures. I just
No,
kind of wonder where we are in
It's
deployment.
completely installed now, and it's going through the training process. People are giving access logs to it. We actually used it the other night to track a vehicle of interest in a shooting.
Wow. Has it been molested?
Not that I'm aware of.
What?
There was a report.
It could be repressed, but I don't know.
So it's okay.
No, we've had no damage to it or vandalism.
Because there was a report.
Yeah, there was initially.
allegation.
Well, initially they did put a camera out. They didn't even know it was theirs because the right hand wasn't talking to the left hand in their company, and this thing was deployed to do some topography studies and things like that to see how it worked. And that one was actually destroyed. We did recover the equipment,
Okay.
Not to our cost.
not to our cost.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, I have two more questions, if you don't mind. One more for Fred. Isn't the, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 5-yarder, isn't it like overheating or something too? So this is going to be a major addition to the fleet.
Well, our 5-yard currently, it was constructed in 1990. It's got several years on
Yeah.
it. There's a couple issues with it. Since it's so old, it's no longer compliant or becoming non-compliant with the diesel
Yeah, the
exhaust.
carb compliance.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the particulate filtration system. We can't get one for that
Yep.
for that truck. So, yeah, it's going to be a nice tool for us.
Yeah,
to
that's
have.
excellent. And then the last question I have is for you, Ruth. Now, as often happens after these meetings, and I'm sure every council person up here can testify to this, I will hear this a lot. Boy, you guys are spending a lot of money, right? And what I would like to, this isn't dipping into this is all budgeted items. This isn't like ripping into, general fund dollars or nothing like that, right?
Correct.
So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody that might be listening, because I've heard it almost every single time that we buy something, I get feedback from somebody, boy, you guys are just on a spending spree. And I'm like, well, we're buying, the things
Yeah.
we need. So
I would say that this is really starting to slow down. I think the last couple of years we had a lot more than this. I really feel like the requests this year were actually less.
yeah, because they've been being fulfilled.
Yeah,
The
it's just
previous
that
council did an excellent job in doing that.
Yeah, the list just looks long because we're not getting the things we ordered.
Yeah.
So they're
All right,
carryovers.
thank you for clarifying.
Ruth, I have
Yes,
a question.
I-
Can you I'm so sorry.
No.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
Real quick, okay?
Sure.
Can you publicly say that, so that the public can hear it, that this is all allocated for already and that we're not spending and overspending, or we're not going into the red?
Yes, correct. I think we will have some funds left over after this year.
Thank you very much.
And if I can just tag along with Ruth. So this is the capital assets that were requested. Again, you've already approved many of these. These are included in the budget, and in future years, I know we've talked about this, where the idea here is, in the past, it would come, I don't want to say nickel and dime, but one here, one there. We're trying to be more planning in ahead, so you know what we're planning on spending this year. And in the future, the idea is to bring this actually with the budget. The money was improved in the budget.
Yes.
We just didn't have the list to give to you comprehensively finalized yet. So the money was approved in the budget when you adopted the budget. Now we want to say, okay, you approved these dollars, here's what we're recommending you spend them on.
And may I add to that? Some of these expenditures are specifically to save money. So
Sure.
is there a cost for, crack sealer? Well, absolutely, but it's cheaper than hiring a
Yeah.
company to come in, 300,000?
I heard 330, I think, or something like that.
So, anyway, there's rumors that in any city, and Oroville is not innocent. The rumor mill is very active, especially it seems at coffee shops and whatnot.
So just along with this, at a future meeting, at the next meeting on the 19th, you'll be hearing some information on road projects that Fred and I have been working diligently on to give you, again, money's been budgeted, so we're going to say, okay, here's what's budgeted, here's what we recommend spending that on. And then probably in October, we'll bring back an update on more capital projects for our facilities. And again, all three of these kind of components capital assets, capital projects, roads, our goal is to actually bring those forward with the budget in future years.
Thank you, Ruth, and I think it's important to have a list such as this because we're in a world right now, if you order something today, the expectation was you'd get it tomorrow. Well, that's just not happening. So this is kind of a running list that'll tell us, we've got things in here ordered years ago, frankly, and we're just waiting on those parts to arrive. So it's important to know that, and I appreciate the list. It's a great idea. Okay, any other questions? Or did you have
Yes, I just wanted to bring back to remembrance prior to 2016 for a number of years. The city was in the red, approximately $1.8 million deficit every single year for a number of years. We worked with the skeletal crew. We laid off. We froze benefits and salaries. We asked our employees to pay a certain percentage of their own benefits. Equipment was worn out. It was antiquated. I mean, the roads we could not fix. We could not do any of the expenditures, the capital assets that we are doing right now. It's been a long time coming. And we have to thank you for approving Measure U dollars. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're able to do it. So when we hear that we're spending too much money, this has been a long time coming. You ought to congratulate yourselves. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I mean, really, I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Well said. With that,
we just need an action on that.
Oh, action to approve the list? Okay. I would entertain a no. Do we have to approve the list? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, motion to approve
motion and a
the
second.
capital assets
Call roll,
list.
please.
Councilmember Johnstone? Yes. Councilmember Riggs? Yes. Councilmember Thompson? Yes. Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item is number 11, contract amendment for the city administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last meeting, the council gave staff direction to the city attorney's office to prepare an amendment to the contract for the city administrator, which is per the traditions of the city with respect to new employees who come on board after a 6-month period. And in this particular case, following a mid-year performance evaluation conducted for Mr. Ring and his successful completion of that first 6-month period. So this contract amendment adjusts the salary from Step E at $204,365 per year. And the only other change is that it advances it to Step F on the department head salary schedule with the annual salary of $214,583, and that is effective September 5th. Should you ratify this this change, and so I'm happy to take questions, or you can move forward and entertain a motion after any public input.
Well, I will add that the gentleman received a very positive evaluation from this council, and just leave it at that.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnstone? Yes. Councilmember Riggs?
Resounding yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yep.
Councilmember Goodson?
Amen, amen.
Councilmember Weber?
He's okay, I guess. Yeah.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pittman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Public
Thank you all.
hearings next. Any public hearings today? I don't think we have any.
No.
There are none.
None. Okay. We have this next item is a public communications hearing on non-agenda items.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we did have one card submitted after the first round, so this one is for Renee Gramps.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Renee.
Thank you again for letting me speak. I'm going to read this time so I'm not so jarbled. How much time do I have on this?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, all right, okay. Emergencies. Emergencies and disasters are never situations anyone wants to happen, but unfortunately, and usually when we least expect it, they do. These emergencies can vary from individual personal events, city or community events like our spillway, or our local deadly and damaging wildfires, all the way to the tensions that are building around the world. Well, September is National Preparedness Month. So I have questions, and I don't know if you guys can respond quickly, or I'll just start here. So one, I was wondering if our city has an emergency plan or different emergency plans depending on the scenario, and does the public have access to these basics, or the basics of it? Two, do we have a local emergency alert warnings in place for situations? Three, do we have emergency evacuations routes in place, I would say maybe per what they call districts for our city? That came up because of obviously the chaos that happened during the spillway situation. And obviously then I think about what happened in Paradise. Four, I was on our city website and I didn't see any info to help guide people in case of a local emergency, and was wondering if we could, if I could challenge you guys to consider maybe updating the website. And lastly, are we hosting any National Preparedness Month local events? I know that there is stuff on FEMA that I believe that you could easily get materials and what have you. If we do happen to get something that can be put together before the end of the month, I'm willing to volunteer to help, because this is something that's near and dear to me. I mean, everything from, just breaking down on the side of the road, making sure that you've got water and, whatever you need for your car, all the way to obviously, bigger, severe situations. I think the more people that are prepared, the better we all are. So,
thank you.
Is there any opportunity for any of those questions to be answered, or is that something that we would?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to comment. So the county does have, and maybe our administrator might have more to say on that, Mr. Ring, but the county does have a code red notification system. You can go on the county's website. You can sign up for, and so the county is the lead agency that does handle that for our city. There may be more to know on that, but.
Yeah, there is a code red notification system, and I think I apologize if I'm making an assumption. I believe what you were referring to, like what Paradise is doing with an alert system up there for fires.
Yeah, I guess all the above.
Yeah.
Just, so I didn't know if because I know there's obviously probably some situation with the county, but I didn't know if there was something implemented just for our city.
Yeah, I know we have inundation maps here, I know at the city level, and your timing is perfect. I was just looking because I actually have a meeting tomorrow with a number of people on just emergency preparedness, both at the county level and other jurisdictions here locally. So it's one thing where I think we could certainly update our website.
Yeah,
and that's not only in this area. It's been on our radar for a couple of areas. We need to probably get more current on that. So,
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other non-agenda items? No?
None submitted.
None submitted? All right. Next item is future agenda items. Council have any suggestions for future agenda items?
I have one.
I do too.
Okay. Eric spoke first.
Yeah, so we have received a letter from Hutton regarding the build-out that we just celebrated with the Caltrans, the beautification of the off-ramps, and there's some concern about the portion of that fence. And so if we could put that on the agenda to perhaps have the city engineering or reach out to Caltrans and have a conversation. I didn't notice it because in the letter it said if you drive an F-150, yep, that's me. Right over there, but my wife who drives a Prius, yeah, it's a problem, challenge. And so just maybe we need to have some expertise look at that. And I don't know if it comes from council, give some direction, that type of a thing.
do you want staff just to look into that and provide council with an update? We can certainly do that.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you wanted something agendized or just.
Well, I don't know if it needs to be, but just some direction.
We'll look into it.
Just
Is that at Lower Dam or Montgomery 70? Where's the?
Montgomery, the off-ramp to Montgomery. And
You have to pull out.
yeah, sure. I actually had a conversation with Caltrans about that down there. And the short suggestion was moving the stop bar farther into the intersection so people could see. And maybe that's simple. I don't know. But it is a Caltrans issue.
That
Because
might work.
It is.
Yeah.
That might work.
Just move the stop
Yeah.
bar farther into the intersection so they can see.
Paint the line.
Yeah, that's all we're talking about, so.
And I guess always the thing on something like that, you appreciate what they did. You know, they spent a lot of money, and I don't want to come off not being appreciative, but at the same time, it is, you know, obviously
Yeah.
there's some
I
concern with
also
the public
failed-
safety.
I also failed to mention that we had a nice ribbon cutting ceremony down at the Riverbend Park. And Caltrans was very appreciative of the city staff helping out with that project, and the fact that the Dan Rivers from Rainforest Project provided the students to do the artwork. Interestingly, they're trying to do a similar project in Chico, and Chico wasn't helping them with any artists. So I introduced the director to Dan, and it looks like Dan's going to be doing the artwork for Chico, so with this Chico student. So it's a very nice thing to be done. Janet Goodson, you had something.
Yes, I believe that we are long overdue for an update on the Gateway project.
Okay.
And we're meeting on that, I think, on Wednesday. Actually, tomorrow as well. Man, good timing on all these.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Praise the
All
Lord.
right. Any other councilman?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead,
Thank
sorry.
you very much. I know I spoke with Vice Mayor Smith about this, but I spoke with Vice Mayor Smith about this, and I'll bet you the entire council is probably going to agree to this, but I would love to look into, we just paid honor to the lady of Butte County, Alberta Tracy, and I mean, what a dedicated service, as you pointed out, 40 years at the Eman House and many, many other things that she did. I would love to look into us actually paying for a memorial, like a placard, and putting it at the Eman home. And now I initiated conversation with the Butte County Historical Society, and of course it's got to go to their board. But I would love to, you walk up and there's a memorial plaque and a picture and a little bit of a bio on the person. I'd love to do that. So I'd love for us to entertain that. I know I talked to Vice Mayor Smith about it, and him and I both agreed that her legacy should be honored. I would also I got a note here on the heels of everything. I would really like to entertain the idea of getting Hardy Land to come and give us a presentation regarding branding as well. I would also like to look into a graffiti removal task force and purchasing some graffiti removal apparatus that makes sense, that's easy to use. And then the last thing I would like to look into is a local preference in bidding and contract. And let me explain what I mean by that. I was actually talking to Ruth about the carpet because Ruth asked for some input from me because, well, I've been installing carpet my whole life. So regarding all the carpet that's in the city hall, and we were talking about the local providers that we have here. There's two of them, which is Carpet Warehouse and Carpets Galore, which are both extremely reputable and good companies. And I was expressing that I would love to be able to see us give like a preferential, it's local company, local money, we'll keep it in the economy. And so I would like to initiate a conversation and talk about that. Now, are you aware of anything like that?
Yeah, so you can have a local preference ordinance that's passed as long as it fits within certain constitutional parameters that allow you to, help disadvantaged firms that are within your city limits where, they may need a little bit of assistance in being competitive in your local projects. And so we can certainly look into bringing forward a local preference ordinance for you that kind of would fit those criteria.
Yeah, maybe not like for everything, but maybe when it comes to particular things like, like for instance, the flooring as an example, or construction projects or something like that, to try to bolster our people in our city.
Well, certainly. And, the key aspect to this is that the people who be participating from your local area, you have to make certain findings with respect to, whether there is a disadvantage to them in that particular bidding process. So you'd be able to potentially create an ordinance that allows the council to determine on a contract by contract basis which ones are really appropriate for local bidding and which ones aren't.
Okay, thank you.
Could I?
So
Go ahead.
It's interesting because, well, now specifically for this project, we know that the two carpet competitors are not disadvantaged. They're not at a disadvantage. But I would think that the process is generic in terms of the RFP is put out for everyone. There's no partiality or favoritism, right? So I'm a little hesitant in a process like that, an ordinance, because then you start opening up the public perception that there is something manipulative about that process to give other people an extra advantage, and that's not the picture that we want to present. And then, of course, if you do for one, you do for all. But that's just my take on that.
All right.
Go ahead.
Just to add to, now that we have a community development director, when it comes to economic development, and that's been a personal kind of frustration, is in this process of RFPs and not having enough local participation. So perhaps your office in your new seat, again, giving direction here, but to do some sort of seminar or local training, because as you know, there's a lot of steps to become a business that can then legally, then participate in the bid process. So maybe there's some work the city can do to help our local small mom and pop shops with some training or some direction. I don't know if that's something that's appropriate, but I think that would be helpful to engage in that process. And I think that's something probably you could probably head up. Maybe.
Right, I could do a workshop for people to do that. A lot of times, because public projects legally have to be done by prevailing wage.
Right.
And the reporting requirements, the paperwork that goes to that, it knocks a lot of people out that they just don't want to go through all of that. They don't have the wherewithal to do that and then to do the labor reporting. So it's not just a matter of necessarily giving them preference, but how to, I guess, sort of giving them capacity to be able to do all the other work. So we could take a look at some way to do that.
Yeah, the navigation, just
navigation,
some,
right?
Some instruction. Would be great.
Yeah, maybe some FAQs on what it takes to submit a bid for a public project, or
Yeah.
and we can certainly look into maybe the criteria and on the requirements for some sort of a what qualifies as a disadvantaged employer when it comes to making the bids.
Well, let me just clarify, being disadvantaged is one example of sort of a rational governmental interest or a legitimate governmental interest by way or through which you might rationally provide a local preference. So it just has to be related to a legitimate government interest if you're going to do that with respect to your local bidding process. So one example is they're disadvantaged because you're a smaller town and bigger competitors exist outwards that can handle things like prevailing wage and all that stuff. But that's not the only reason. So it's just a pretty often used one. So, but the answer is yes, you can bring forward something for you to consider in that area.
All right. Any other future agenda items? Then if none, I will adjourn this meeting. For the next regular meeting of the Oroville City Council will be held on September 19th, 2023 at 4 p.m. We are adjourned, folks.
Excellent.
Recording stopped.
That's all, folks.
Stop.
Thank you for sharing your Nutter Butter, Scott.
Yeah.